What's up guys, it's Constricta, and today we're diving into Serum 2. In this video, I'll show you how to make heavy dubstep growls inspired by Virtual Riot, Barely Alive, and Nimda, just to name a few. This is one of the first sounds I've made with Serum 2, so there's a lot left to experiment with. By the end of this video, you'll know how to create fat growls like this. As you can see, Serum 2 now has 3 oscillators, giving us even more flexibility for layering and sound design. There's also a new LFO path editor which lets you create intricate shapes for even more unique modulations. Alright, let's get started with the sound. First, let's start by moving octave A down 3. We're going to be using FM from B, so let's choose a clean wavetable for oscillator A. A good one I found is bass pluck, which works very well for growls. Let's set the random to 0. Head over to LFO1 and let's create some slopes. Set the rate to a bar. Now set the level knob to 0% and then drag LFO1 onto it. Now let's turn on the warp mode. In Serum 2, you're allowed to use 2 instead of 1. Let's go with bend minus for this first one. Head over to LFO2 and check out the new shapes we could use for modulations. Let's hear what some of these sound like. Drag the LFO2 onto this bend minus warp. Change the rate to a bar so it matches with our LFO1. Maybe turn down the level slightly. I'm liking the sound of this oval shape. Now we could turn on the second warp mode and set this to PD from B. This is the same as FM from B in Serum 1. Let's go to LFO3 and then create something simple. I'll make a mini triangle and then set the rate to a bar. Let's drag LFO3 onto PD from B so it creates some movement. Now turn on oscillator B and then turn it down 3. We need to find a gritty wavetable with lots of texture. The stock monster wavetables are really good options. Don't forget to set the random to 0. Let's move the wavetable position so it's near the middle. Drag LFO3 onto this position knob. Let's move to the warp section now. Let's try ASIM minus for this one. Let's see how LFO2 sounds on it. Let's add a third oscillator for an extra layer. Let's choose a vocally wavetable. I know the wavetable softest growl is a good one. Again, we're going to remove the random so it stays consistent. Let's try LFO1 to move through the wavetable position. Now add a new warp mode. Let's try asym plus minus. Let's try LFO2. Now move down the level knob and then drag LFO1 onto it. Let's set this to about 80%. We could add some noise to the sound to introduce more texture. The stock noise sample works fine. Change this to direct so it bypasses our effects. Now drag LFO1 onto this mix and adjust the volume accordingly. Now we can move on to the filter. High notch 12 is one of the best for growl sounds. Make sure A and C are highlighted so they affect the oscillators. Drag LFO1 onto the cutoff to introduce more movement. Raise the drive, resonance, and frequency knobs to shape the tone further. Let's modulate this as well. So far, this sounds pretty good. Let's move on to the effects section now. Let's add a new filter. This is a new one in Serum 2 that behaves somewhat like a disperser. Let's adjust the knobs to make it sound more big and wet. Now let's add some EQs and start creating some simple notches to further shape the sound. Also, let's raise the high end on the first one to give us more clarity. See how drastic these can affect our growl? Now let's add some distortion. Let's choose hard clip for this one. Raise the drive and then let's put LFO1 onto the mix. We could add some chorus and dimension to give the sound more width as well. Now we can add some multiband OTT. Let's use 3 of them, and then raise the gain till it sounds loud enough. Finally, we could add a final EQ to remove the low end and boost some of the highs. This growl sounds pretty close to being finished. And that is one of the many ways you could create sick growls in Serum 2. There are endless possibilities with this update, so I suggest getting creative. Getting good sounds is all about trial and error, so don't be afraid to experiment. If you found this video helpful, make sure to drop a like and consider subscribing. That is all for this one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.